The Badger State is home for Storm Murphy, who's been a key player for this Virginia Tech men's basketball team. Murphy grew up in Middleton, Wisconsin, which is about a 90-minute drive west from where we are here in Milwaukee. So while Virginia Tech had everything to lose last night, the Hokies have a lot to gain tonight as they prepare to take on number 2 seed Notre Dame at the top of the hour. And it's worth repeating, Kamila Valieva, only 15 years old. I can't imagine what she's had to go through this week. At the same time, though, it feels like this shouldn't have happened in the first place. Andrew, I'm wondering what's been some of the reaction after that free skate?
See the guys without the pads, they're so big. You know?
Oh my gosh, I mean, you could tell from the camera angle, I'm just like, hi, yes, tell me about your dreams. Well, everyone that crosses the finish line here has a story, and when Kate Buss finished her race, little did she know that even though she was the second female to cross the line, she actually won the race by 2 seconds.
But the fact that they're talking about it when they wear the shirt, you know, they tell the story.
Yeah, well, I'm wearing the shirt and we're talking about it. And, you know, he ordered originally 520 of these and he has sold each and every one of them. He is sold out of these shirts.
I guess you could probably say that Justin Fuente literally saved your life.
You know, paramedics were checking me out, looking at the wound and all that stuff. And I said, hey, can I please see Coach Fuente?
Well, we're expecting capacity crowds for the second straight weekend to fill these stands here in Blacksburg. But among the fans will be a young super fan who's inspired the Hokies just as much, if not more, than they've inspired him. Now, today's press conference brings to an end a wild few weeks here in the Commonwealth as both Virginia Tech and UVA were searching for new head coaches. Yeah, the Hokies getting some rest here at the Sheridan Times Square ahead of what's supposed to be a very busy Pinstripe Bowl Eve tomorrow.
And that's where we find WFXR sports reporter David DeGuzman, who's been following Virginia Tech all week long in the Big Apple. And David, I guess there is no shortage of storylines for today's game, huh?
Yeah, that's right, Amanda. From Connor Blumrick making his first ever career start at quarterback to J.C. Price seeing his brief run as interim head coach come to an end as Brent Pry takes over in the fall of 2022. This is far from the same team that took the field to open the season on Labor Day weekend. Well, remember, this week began with Virginia Tech visiting the 9/11 Memorial and Museum, getting perspective on one of the nation's darkest days. But in 2008, it was the Yankees helping the Hokies out in the wake of one of the school's toughest times. A baseball game, a simple gesture, linking forever Blacksburg with New York.
It's hard to really ever forget. I can say for myself, having been on campus in '07, and the starting pitcher a year later in '08, it's a common conversation for me, and it's hard, but I appreciate it because it kind of helps speak to, for me, the definition of being a Hokie.
In the aftermath of the Virginia Tech school shooting that claimed 32 lives, Andrew Wells knew that baseball would be part of the healing process.
We kind of felt like we were part of that catalyst, part of that movement to bring the community together, to bring campus together, to provide everyone kind of a distraction.
But it was the New York Yankees that lent a hand when Blacksburg needed it the most.
Steinbrenner, as we learned, had reached out to our athletics department, again, pretty quickly and said, hey, we want to be a part of this healing process. We're going to send our guys to play your guys. It's really hard to explain what it meant to me. But I recognized then, and I can fully appreciate now, it wasn't about me. It wasn't about our baseball program. It was about this campus, this community.
Less than a year after that dark day, the Yankees made the trip to the New River Valley to visit the April 16 Memorial and play an exhibition against the Virginia Tech baseball team at English Field. Yankees.
I'll never forget towing that rubber. I put my head down, and as I looked up, it was me and Johnny Damon, head to head.
Wells, a left-handed pitcher, made the start of a lifetime that no other Hokie had ever done before.
I faced, in order, Damon, Jeter, Abreu, A-Rod, and Giambi, and I gave up one unearned run. So I left the mound that day feeling pretty good. I felt like I'd pitched 20 innings walking off after that 1 inning of work.
The Yankees went on to win the 7-inning contest 11-0, but everyone knew the day had very little to do with baseball.
It was for the 32, and it was for the Hokies that we lost and for the tragic events that had taken place a year prior. And just an incredible gesture on behalf of the Yankees. That was the start of the Hokies-Yankees bond, because they did step up in a way that no one could have imagined. That day changed my life forever. Forever will be a Yankees fan.
In honor of what the Yankees have done for Virginia Tech over the years, the Hokies will be wearing the New York Yankees logo on a side of the helmets that they'll be wearing tomorrow at the Pinstripe Bowl. A neat gesture from the Hokies to say thank you to the New York Yankees. Well, starting tomorrow, the world's best track and field athletes will compete at the World Championships in Eugene, Oregon. Among the events contested will be the gravity-defying pole vault. Virginia Tech has produced a number of accomplished pole vaulters over the years, but one athlete training in Blacksburg right now stands out because of what he wears on his head.
And when I'm about to go up for my jump, get on the runway, I put the chalk on my hands, put it down, clamp it, just to kind of let my body know we're getting into our habits, we're letting our body take over.
For Jake Spotswood, putting on a helmet is part of the routine before every fearless attempt at the pole vault. The story behind that helmet dates back to 2021, when the multi-event athlete competed for Alabama. There's not that many athletes who do pole vault who wear helmets. You do. Why is that?
Yeah. So at Alabama last year, I was pole vaulting at South Carolina as an indoor meet. And I think I just got a little too aggressive. I planted the pole and swung upside down to try and clear the bar, and the pole slips out of my hand. And I got knocked out in midair, fell down on the pit. I was knocked out. I was unconscious for about a minute and a half. Head busted open, the whole 9 yards. So got 8 staples in the local hospital in Columbia.
That must have been really scary, though. I mean, that must, like, for a guy who has no fear of heights, who's been pole vaulting for basically all his life, to have that happen to you, were you kind of shaken by that experience a lot? Or?
I think it was more shock at the point that it happened, because the pole hits you in the head. I saw a flash. I wake up a little later, and I remember telling the trainers, I was like, oh, let me jump again. I want to win.
2 weeks later, Spotswood was back competing.
I decided to put the helmet on and said, I don't want this to happen again. I'm not missing practice. I don't want to deal with that.
At the end of the year, he made another risky leap, transferring from Alabama to Virginia Tech.
There was a lot of coaching changes. Not a lot of focus on my event in particular, and they knew it too. They kind of helped me find the university that was a little better fit for me.
Now, under the direction of veteran head coach Bob Phillips, Spotswood has vaulted to new heights, helping to set school records in the indoor heptathlon and outdoor decathlon.
It's been a major blessing coming to Virginia Tech. Like, the coaching staff, the training staff, everybody's just taken such good care of me and my teammates, and it's a great feeling to know that you're part of a family and everyone's trying to take care of you.
And with his helmet, Spotswood has his head in the right place.
Always have fun, because at the end of the day, if you're not having fun, it's not going to go where you want it to go. I still feel like a kid when I come out here, you know, so it's great.
Jake's actually recovering from a leg injury he suffered during the outdoor season, but he'll be back for his final year in 2023. And if you're wondering, that is a skateboard helmet that he is wearing, because he used to skateboard too.
Interesting.
So,
I also noticed you were a little overdressed.
it was actually really hot in there at indoor track. I calculated how hot it would be, hence why some athletes just weren't wearing any shirts.
Thank you, David. I look forward to following along.
All right, to the diamond now. There's still plenty of softball left for the Hokies to play this season, but today was the first sign that the year, as well as more than a few careers, are winding down. Virginia Tech playing its final home series of the spring, which meant senior day today in Blacksburg, a beautiful Sunday at Tech Softball Park, as the Hokies looking to sweep Louisville and people finding shade where they can. We'll pick it up in the fourth. Tech trailing 4-3. Mackenzie Lauder defining the laws of gravity with a solo homer, her first of the season, tying the game up at 4. In the next inning, Hokies with 2 on base as Allie Repko rips one to the wall in left field. The Elon transfer from the Shenandoah Valley pushes 2 across the board. Virginia Tech with a 6-4 lead. Then in the 7th, VT with a 3-run advantage, and a special moment here Head coach Pete Demore pulling starting pitcher Keely Rochard out as the senior exits to a standing ovation. One of the best Tech has ever seen in the circle, improving to 20-2 on the season. Hokies getting the 7-4 win to sweep the Cardinals.
You know, a coach is only as good as their players. And these kids have been with me for 4 years, and you know, they're the building blocks of my program. You know, they bought in and they stuck with it, and even the ones that transferred in, I owe a lot to those kids. And we're not low on confidence. You know, I mean, we're humble, but behind the scenes, we're pretty confident. We think we can play with anybody.
Over now to the baseball diamond after the Hokies won at Fenway Park last night. Tech sweeping the Eagles on the road with a 6-4 victory, while UVA gets the 10-3 win over North Carolina. It's the Cavaliers' second ACC sweep this season and the first over the Tar Heels since 2015. The Hoos, by the way, went on to win the national title that year. All right, over to Carilion Clinic Field. Finale of a 6-game homestand against Charleston. Top of the fourth, Carson Williams lining one along the third baseline. That gets through for a double. Well, actually make that a triple because Kieran Meredith ends up kicking the ball out. So Williams would end up later scoring on a sac fly as the River Dogs take a 1-0 lead. A big chance, though, for the Sox to get on the board. They have the bases loaded in the bottom of the fourth, but Tyler Miller grounds one into a double play. Salem getting blanked 9-0 as the Sox will now head to Lynchburg this week, looking to turn things around after losing 5 of 6 to Charleston. Still to come, the Dogs are in the finals for the first time in franchise history. The schedule for the President's Cup Championship Series when sports continues. Before we go, even with plenty of action left, some final thoughts on this final Friday of the Tokyo Summer Games. Every Olympics is like a postcard. It's a snapshot of a time and a place in history. These games will forever be known as the Pandemic Games, the first ever to be postponed for a year and taking place against the backdrop of a state of emergency in the city of Tokyo. The Olympic cauldron lit amid a chorus of protests and calls to cancel an event that organizers were determined to deliver. Indeed, these were the games unlike any other before it. No fans in the stands, no friends or family or that support system athletes relied on just to get them to Tokyo, where masks, COVID tests, and soft quarantines made just as much headlines as the competition itself. There are questions on whether it was all worth it, and time will tell. But as these games cross the finish line, you don't have to look past the faces of the athletes that took part to answer that question with a resounding yes. There were a total of 50 athletes with connections to the Commonwealth at these Tokyo Olympics, each with a unique journey, but all tied together by the pandemic we've all endured. From the quartet of UVA swimmers that made the podium, part of a youth movement in American swimming, to the Canadian duo whose golden success in rowing was rooted in Charlottesville. We saw redemption on the pitch and gratitude on the track. The vast majority of these athletes did not bring home a medal at all, but all have memories to last a lifetime. Nothing about these games stuck to the original script we had envisioned, but they were built to be the lights at the end of the tunnel of what we as humanity have been through for the last year and a half. We may still be in that tunnel, but for these 17 days, the athletes offered something we all needed, a sense of hope. All right, well, that'll do it for this edition of Today in Tokyo. One final note, a special thanks to our Next Star team of reporters on the ground in Tokyo, working hard and providing the stories and insight daily through these games. And also a thank you to the men and women behind the scenes, setting up the cameras, punching the buttons, and running the prompter. It's a job they do every day, but, you know, a thank you goes a long way.